It's Podraza. I'm not making any of this up. I'll calm a bit right at the moment, but it had to be gunned. It's this serious, and I'm getting older. And I have to take care of my own heart in the midst of this. So I'm gunning this subject right like this. I've had enough on these females wanting, forcing me to female hookers and everything else. Had enough on it. I have been waiting for a gentleman who strong enough to let me sit down and talk to him and him take over a bit. I'm repeating myself, but that is the strength. And boy, I don't want a liar. And I know what I believe in. And I don't want to hear any more of what took place in Naples. I'd go there again. I want to go to that inn again in Raymond. They were good to my mother, and they were good to me. And that is a necessity for my own healing, to find that inn and to stay there again. And that is it, but not in a room that has no bathroom and the kitchen elsewhere, which is communal. That was not good for me. But the inn was good for me if it exists. That is good, beautiful lake region that flowed in the winter. That's a necessity. I want to clock that look. I want to hear the wolves and see whether they howl on the full moon. Your wife gets involved in this. Now, that is what I have to know. My mother said that she used to stay at a little Italian shoemaker shop while our mother got home late. She cooked for the wealth. She moonlighted in that fashion, cooked for the wealth. And she worked at the Bond Hotel, which was a swanky one in Hartford. One has to know the background there. At a point in time, she was the head maid type of thing. And only England would understand that, and that kind of wealth would understand that, or wealth that has dealt with that. They would understand that background. She had black hair, so it was a Spanish element, not the red, in Ireland. And we're talking about how the Italians meshed with that. So we're talking about different French, different Italians, different Irish in some cases. I am part that. So we're talking serious stuff on the... That's the part of Connecticut we have to. I've given you names that I trusted. Sam Fuller I would have trusted. I am not, I'm angry, but I have to say what I was too shut down to say. I was called demanding there. This is demanding. It had to be gunned. This is what I call gunning the subject. I've waited a long time, and I've had a lot of patience, and this was never handled properly, straight through. And I do have to question a capo Jew. Now, I thank your wife for telling me that. It's a gift. But who withheld the information all those years? That is my question. Who withheld it? My father couldn't stand arrogance or lying. And my grandmother from Ireland couldn't stand holier than thou. Now, she goes way back. She was 76 when I was 18. And she couldn't stand the holier than thou. That's to point the finger at you and tell you you're ex when you want, and getting it darn wrong and ruining your life. That is what a holier than thou is. Now, she used that term herself from Ireland. Now, this does have to culminate in with a gentleman. I have chosen that male. And I don't want to lose this time. If that can be handled, God willing, I do not want to lose. Now, I could wonder what happened to Peter Vanny's sister, who's a sister of mercy, and why I never knew what happened on that one. And all of that so mysteriously never shows itself. Now, I hope you are good, and I hope your wife is. And I guess you'll have to forgive my demanding. For once in my life, besides a mind that hasn't got much time, somebody has to have consideration for me. And that is what I'm asking for. That son matters to me. And the resolution here for that boy. He was never silly. He was never immature. And boy, I don't want to hear anymore on who is. You have a good day. Excuse. I don't like what was on that communications industry, even amongst the way up at the top. Somebody has to quit lying, or they have to straighten out their own behavior. And that's where we're at on this subject matter. I've had enough on the subject of me mating with a female that lasts a lifetime, when I've waited for a male for a lifetime to enter my life, who's strong enough to let me relax a little. And that is where we're at also. I'm going to tell you, that mother went through this with me, alone, when she suffered something there in Connecticut that I couldn't figure out myself. I have explained some of that to my son. I want them living in the present. And we embellish on this. I don't want to lose a male this time. I'm serious. I have to count on this being good, backwards, middle, and present. This had to be gunned due to what I listened to, even at Franco Gendron Center from that Kathy, laughing her head off and getting away with it. She doesn't know the first thing about a wealth I've dealt with at all. She doesn't know one darn thing. And I didn't want her tongue at me at all. She's welcome to talk about silicone. I never heard of silicone done in a throat period in the medical industry. I'm telling you, I don't want to deal with what I've listened to. This is my medical industry in here. Coastal Wellness, as they handled that. And God willing, you and your wife are good. Because I don't want to hear about Dr. Casey. And I don't want to hear about Patrick Fleury. And Cooney owes my mother anyway. And if his father's alive, that's who handles that one. And I'm going to tell you, nobody does that to a female who has raised 2 children alone with her husband in a hospital and came over from Ireland and does somebody in like that anyway. And my mother decided to stay here because she didn't like some of that. Now that has to be rectified from the no good, by, from, around the good in Connecticut. I'm hoping that is you and you're not the... Good morning. The mailbox of your wife is all booked up, or whatever we call it. I don't want to lose either one of you for the rest of my life. I trust you, and that's very important. What is a complication is the fact of a certain kind of Irish is mob, and I don't get along with them. A certain kind of Italian mob, I do not get along with them. A certain kind of French mob, and I do not get along with them. Our family was non-mob. There is a question mark on an element of Ellie and the Soshelskis left, and 2 Podrazas. I do not want them identifying themselves with me till they can act like a Podraza. And they can act like an Austrian, Polish, Yiddish Jew